And we are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast, to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into today's recap, I want to make sure to remind you guys about Grind Clothing Co. They are our official merch sponsor. So click the link in our YouTube bio or in the description below this video so that link will shoot you right to Grind Clothing Co.'s website. And you can buy polos, much like the one I'm wearing in today's episode. You can wear sweatshirts and hats, much like the one Ryan is wearing in this recap. So make sure to click the link and rep your favorite Detroit Pistons podcast. Also, please hit the like button and the subscribe button if you are new to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's get into today's recap of tonight's matchup of the Detroit Pistons versus the Charlotte Hornets. The Pistons won this game 111-99. And your Revved Up boys are buffed up because every time the Pistons win, we're getting buffed up for the pod. So congratulations to the for the Pistons getting their first win of the season. This was a good one. And the reason this was a good one is it felt like tonight when watching this game, the Hornets were attacking Isaiah Stewart. Brandon Miller was getting all up in Stu's face. PJ Washington with the hard foul late in the fourth quarter. And it's pretty ballsy for Brandon Miller to go at Isaiah Stewart because a can of beef stew is bigger than Brandon Miller. So this feels like a team win almost for Isaiah Stewart. Ryan, your first thoughts?
Yeah, so you could compliment Jalen Duren, of course. He had a great game. You could compliment a million different guys from this win tonight. But it really comes down to beef stew. The dude balled out, right? Like 15 points out of him is not bad. The fact that you had multiple Hornets attacking him, trying to sting him all night, and he prevailed. So, like, it's not bad. Like, Stewart, the last stretch there where you had PJ Washington making the play on Stu, that was not a play on the ball. That was a play on Stu. Like, nope. I think Stewart was definitely talking the whole game. And it really just got into PJ's skin there at the end there, and he just had to make a play on him. But that, dude, like, you can't do that. That was a dirty move. It really was. Yeah. Even if you are a little annoyed or perturbed about a certain situation, you should never be like full body contact like that. Obviously, evident of a flagrant 2, ejected from the game, even though the game was pretty much over.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the fact that people go after Stu after knowing his history. I would think a lot of NBA guys would kind of shy away, but maybe since they think he's a hothead, they want to target him. I'm not sure what it is, but I really do think the Hornets targeting Stu the way they did really rallied the team as a whole. And really the reason why the Pistons kind of ran away with this game is because they started out hot right away. The Pistons scored 32 points in the first quarter to the Charlotte Hornets 21 points. And that was really the quarter where the biggest point differential was. So the Pistons proving that they can come out hot to start a game. The Pistons proved last season that they're a little bit more of a second half team, but the Pistons seeming that they're kind of coming around the edge. It seems like this team is really rallying and becoming a winning team. And they're proving that by showing up in the early stages of a game.
Yeah, like the first game there, and then even now, while watching it, I'm sitting there going like, not only is this a completely different team than last year, but like the Lions this year, watching the Lions play, I'm like, yeah, I'm confident in them. Like, I have no doubt about them in my mind. And the same is to be said about the Pistons in these two games. I'm sitting there going like, yeah, this is a completely different team, and I'm actually confident that they actually have a chance to win. Just the way they started out tonight they were on a huge run up until Charlotte got the 12th point there on their side. But this game and even the first game of the season, we're proving that we can go on very long runs. And it's not just like offensive rounds. We're talking defensive runs too. I mean, case in point, that's kind of determining what a run is. But like our defense, the last 2 games now, you can say 2 games now, but the last 2 games, it's been very fun to watch, very energetic. And it's just like I can see flashes of the going to work Pistons. I can see flashes of the bad boys. And that's very fun and like nice to see out of this young team because yeah, we do have a lot of inexperienced guys still, but like they're proving, even though they're really young, third youngest team in the league, that they can go out there and play with the best of them.
And there's a lot of ways you can describe this Pistons team with adjectives, but one that you have to include to describe the Pistons is resilient. We saw early in the second quarter, the Pistons go on a 10-0 run. Well, then midway through the second quarter, the Charlotte Hornets up to that and had a 12-0 run. And then the Pistons came back, got a couple stops, and then went on their own 12-0 run. So in past years, we've saw the Pistons allow 15 straight points to the opposing teams, and then that's the end of it. It's done. The game's over. And this year, this team has showing every game, these first 2 games, that even if a team can go on a run, they are going to get stops eventually and then climb their way back to the lead. And the Pistons, I really enjoying this new culture that Monty Williams, Cade Cunningham, these main guys are kind of cultivating around the Pistons organization right now. We talked about some of the positives here. One thing that we talked about last recap is the Pistons ended with 17 turnovers against the Miami Heat. Well, in the first half, the Pistons ended up with 16 turnovers. I'm not sure what the game total was. I think it's around 25, maybe. Turnovers are seeming like they're going to be an issue in the early stages of this season. I think as the chemistry gets better within the team, that hopefully that will fix itself. But if the Pistons didn't have 16 first half turnovers, this game would have been a win by 25 points, and it would have been done right in the early stages of the fourth quarter.
No, yeah, from the get go, we were controlling this game. Like I was sitting there, as I said, being confident. I was sitting there going like, if we continue to play like this, we're gonna win by 30. Like there's no reason why we shouldn't have. But again, what it comes down to is keeping the ball in your hands. A lot of the mistakes that were made turnover wise were very similar to the other night. Um, yeah, they're terrible passes in certain situations, but in others, like you can appreciate the idea that it's going through somebody's head. Like the backdoor cut that I forget who it was. I think it was Asar, and Duran was trying to squeeze it in there as a bounce pass, and then it just got deflected out. Like in that situation, Duran made the right move. It just the Asar was contained. There's no way of getting the ball physically in there when you had the guy right on Asar's hip, and then even the defender on Duran was right there too. That's just more of like a situation in which you can grow from. If you have more practice in drills centered around passing, I think that fix it right there. But then also chemistry is a big thing in this too. Everybody has to realize in the Pistons community is that even though all these guys played together last year, it's a whole new regime. It's a whole new coaching staff. And so they have different plays, different concepts, different ideas bouncing around at all times. And so you can understand how we've had so many turnovers through the first 2 games of the season, just because like it is a completely new coaching staff. They're drilling in different ideas and concepts with these young guys. And it's just more of like it's growing pains. Once we get over the hump, we're going to be fine. But it's just the first 2 games and the first couple games that you're going to see a lot of these turnovers happening.
Another positive from this win tonight from the Detroit Pistons was the Hornets shot 35% from the field in this first half of the game. And they ended up shooting 25% from the 3-point line through 4 quarters. So the Pistons tonight, if you watched it, you noticed that they made an emphasis on defense. And the Pistons ended up with 6 blocks rather, and 7 steals. So Not necessarily anything that jumps out of the box score, but when you have that kind of prevalent numbers in both categories at the end of 4 quarters, this team is showing that their defensive ability is going to kind of slowly turn into being the image of the Detroit Pistons. And if you have guys like Asar Thompson having 5 blocks like he did against the Miami Heat, it's only going to keep improving this defense. And Monty Williams, a guy known for having good defensive schemes. We saw during the game on Bally Sports that the Hornets were at the free throw line, and Monty Williams is coaching the guys. Jalen, I want you to get back on O. He pays attention to those little details, and that's what I like about Monty and this Pistons team. That kind of proves the differences between previous Pistons teams and this one. Is they're paying attention to the little things on defense.
Yeah, they're all willing to learn from Monty. And that's how you build a successful culture is the players need to buy in. If they don't buy in, bad things happen. But this young team that we have here, from the beginning, from the first press conference that Monty Williams had till now, all of them have bought in. They're wanting to learn more. They're wanting to learn how to do certain things the right way. They're wanting to know when their wrongs are, when their rights are. And you can see that. It's evident. Like Jaden Ivey alone, like he's playing completely different from this year to last year. And it's all because of the fact of what he's learned from Monty. The same can be said about Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes last year, he did struggle a lot from time to time, and even the last couple of years. But now with Monty, you can see that he's playing with swagger and he's playing with confidence. And it's a whole different player out there. Yeah, like Killian had 6 points tonight, and his stats were like all over the place. But you still saw him playing with a purpose. And like I said in a couple episodes ago, like I can see Killian being like a Cameron Payne type player for us. Cameron Payne was one of those guys in Oklahoma City that wasn't getting a lot of reps, but was known for his handshake with Russell Westbrook. That's about it in Oklahoma City. But Monty was there. Then Monty brings Cameron Payne in with Phoenix, and Cam Payne becomes one of the more household names in the Suns community. And he's just one of those guys that works his tail off. I see that being happening in front of us with Killian. The last couple of years, Killian hasn't been like anything substantially crazy, but now with the growth of having Monty Williams right there, learning from him, but then also learning from Jarrett Jack and the rest of the coaching staff that has experience. Like these guys, once you buy into a system, it's evident that you see their growth.
Right. One of the things that stood out to me in the box score was the Pistons out rebounded the Charlotte Hornets by 11 rebounds. That's a big difference when it comes down to late stretch possession time, because if the Pistons were allowing so many rebounds, this game could look very differently. But we saw Jalen Duren make a huge impact on the rebounding category, wrapping up 17 rebounds. And then we saw Asar Thompson really excel in the early stages here in rebounding, getting 12 tonight against the Hornets. I'm really impressed the emphasis this team puts on the rebounds, because even you look at the other starters, we see Stu get 7. And then off the bench, we see Marvin Bagley get 4, Alec Burks get 4. This team is seeming like they're boxing out when you have to offensively. And then we saw Asar Thompson in a 4.5-minute stretch get 3 offensive rebounds. That was in a crucial time, 6 minutes left in the game, and the Pistons are within 4 with the Hornets up by 4. And Asar Thompson is saving possession time on these crucial offensive rebounds. I mean, we saw it with past Pistons teams, guys like Andre Drummond really be able to gobble up the rebounds, but not a team effort like this. This win tonight against the Hornets was really a team win, and it seemed like it was for Isaiah Stewart, but Jalen Duren was also a key factor tonight. He played great. He's doing exactly what we wanted to. We predicted him to hopefully have around 15 points a game, maybe 12 rebounds. Well, he gave us that and more tonight. He reached the 14-point mark and 17 rebounds, but then he also shot 7 of 8 from the field. And that proves a lot to me, because when a center can be efficient the way he was, that's so crucial. Because if you have a center that is just kind of on and off with his efficiency, that can be a hindrance to a team. But Jalen Duren proving that he's going to be a premier center in this league.
Yeah, definitely so. And I mean, you look at the box score for him outside of the 14 points and 17 rebounds. He had 3 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Like he had a masterpiece of a night tonight. I mean, obviously there are still room for improvement in certain situations, but he balled out. He had one of the better games of the season. Obviously, only 2 games played in so far, but he still had a very solid night. No complaints, no issues. And then you actually look at past centers that we've had. Like last year, Marvin Bagley didn't put as much emphasis on rebounding as he's had this year. Jalen Duren hit the glass hard last year. He's continuing where he left off.
Right.
We didn't have Asar, so Asar is different in the sense that he's the kind of player where he's like Draymond Green and I'll do everything. Like
You're right.
I don't have to just get defensive rebounds, I'll get offensive rebounds too. And
Totally.
that's what I love about Asar is the 3 boards. Like Duren had 6. Like that's solid. We can't complain about that. Asar having 3 at a position of small forward, which small forwards don't really hit the glass, and if they do, it's just defensive rebounds and that's it. But the fact that he had 3, but what I really appreciate the most out of our rebounding is the fact that a lot of our rebounds actually came on the offensive end, and that normally doesn't happen for any team in the league. So the fact that we're hitting the glass not only on offense but defense, that's a staple going forward for this upcoming season.
Another rebounding statistic is that the Pistons had 19 points off of second chance rebounds. That is a great statistic. If you're, I mean, a lot of times you try to reach that 20, 25 points in a quarter, and then you talk about the Pistons getting nearly 20 points off of a second chance rebounds. That's just terrific. I think that this is going to be a staple for the Pistons. We also saw one negative for the Pistons tonight is we saw a couple players struggle in the fouling category. We saw Cade Cunningham foul out with six fouls. We saw Jalen Duren get 3, Killian Hayes 4, Asar Thompson 5. It's going to be something that the Pistons deal with probably again this year. Hopefully, slowly but surely, they start kind of getting a little bit more within themselves, not falling for every pump fake. But we also have to remember Cade missed a lot of last season, so he still hasn't developed quite in the speed of these NBA player moves and falling for these fakes. So it's going to be something that's going to be a learning thing for the Pistons.
Yeah, definitely. The fouls, I mean, fouls and turnovers were a big thing for us tonight. But I just want to point this out, even though we're talking about a negative here, it actually is still a positive. Like the fact that we had so many turnovers and so many fouls, but yet we find a way to win. We like that normally doesn't happen. The story last year was we foul the ball, we turn over the ball. That's the reason why we lost the game. But this year, even though we fouled and turned over it a lot, we still end up winning. And that just shows you how much harder this team is working this year than last year. And so even though we are talking about about a negative, I want to throw out a positive too. The fact that we were able to win with the troubles we had in the turnovers and foul department is pretty impressive. But yeah, the turnovers, that needs to change. We hit 23 tonight. Last year, we were averaging 23 turnovers. That can't happen. We can't continue where we left off at that point last year. And then even the fouls, last year we were averaging 24 fouls. We had 29 tonight. We are where we were last year with this game alone. The difference is we find a way to win and the Hornets find a way to lose. That's really what it comes down to. That's the main difference. But I do want to make note too, like the fact that Cade fouled out and we still won.
Yep.
That shows you how deep this team is. And then it also shows you the growth of this team from last year to this year. You see like Killian Hayes, even though, and I know I mentioned this before, like 2 of 10 shooting, his stat line doesn't look great, but he did all the little things. Asar Thompson, even though his stat line doesn't look great, he did all the little things. Isaiah Stewart, I mean, 15 points, you take away the 15 points, his stat line wasn't much. but he did the little things. All these guys that have played tonight, like we made comment about Ivy, maybe having a cause of concern for him after game one. He comes out here, drops 18 points. Like
Right.
it shows you the next man up mentality with this team. And I think that's what Monty is trying to instill with these young Pistons.
One thing that stood out to me in the box score is LaMelo Ball ended with 20 points, but 10 of those points came from the free throw line. So this was a guy that shot 4 of 17 from the field. Typically in years past, when Pistons have played against these all-star level players, they usually tear us up. But LaMelo Ball got a very quiet 20 points. And the fact that we were able to make him so inefficient and not a reliable source of offense for the Hornets was so crucial as far as getting this win. The Hornets overall, not very good. Brandon Miller, not very good. Wink, wink. So it's like LaMelo Ball has to carry this team, and he wasn't able to tonight. That was crucial.
Yeah, and honestly, what also hurt the Hornets was, I mean, yeah, you had five guys in double digit scoring, and that's pretty darn good. But like Sean Clifford there only played what, nine guys? That's it. When you look at the Pistons, we played what? We played 10. And I guess out of the 10, like Marcus Sasser was the one that had the least time, 8 minutes. But you look at the Hornets, like besides those five guys, you had four guys not score double digits. And then out of those four, the highest amount of points total is 6. And the dude played 14 minutes, and that was Theo Maldone.
Yeah.
But like it proves to you, like this Pistons team is completely different this year than last year. Like when you see the Hornets last year with those five guys that are in double digit scoring, we would have lost. But this year, it's evident that our defensive mindset has drastically improved. Like we are more defensive minded this year than last year. And last year we were more offensive minded, and that's taken a step back. But our offense, even though it's taken a step back in terms of our mindset, it's still on the forefront, and we're still competing on that end too. But yeah, the fact that you hope like Miami Heat, we hold Jimmy Butler to what was it, 19 points, 15, somewhere around there, and then we're holding LaMelo Ball to 20 tonight.
Yep.
Like that's two premier all-star caliber players, and we're holding them to very pretty much lows for them. Like that is very good to see. Something we didn't do at all last year. Last year, anytime an all-star caliber player came in to play us, it was like they're going to kill us every single time.
Yep.
This year, in 2 games, it's evident that our defense has stepped up. It's gotten drastically better, and that means like there can be so much more positives than negatives this season, and so much more excitement whenever we have an all-star caliber player in town.
I want to make sure to remind you, the listeners, to go and tune in to this week's episode. Last Saturday, we posted Jaden. We talked about Jaden Ivey coming off the bench. We talked about our thoughts and talked about the statistics of what it might look like with Jaden Ivey coming off the bench. So make sure to go click on that episode. And then also, if you're watching this on Saturday today, or if it's Friday tomorrow, we talk about the Pistons Summer League and what we learned from their Summer League, their 4 Summer League games, our takeaways of the positives and negatives. So make sure to tune in today or tomorrow's episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. That will wrap up our Revved Up recap of the Charlotte Hornets versus the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons won 111-99. And the Revved Up Boys are buffed up for the first win of the 23-24 season. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.